السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على خاتم الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا محمد النبي الأمين، وعلى آله وأصحابه وأتباعه أجمعين، وعنا معهم برحمته وفضله إلى يوم الدين. All praise belong to Allah, Lord of the worlds. We can never praise Him enough for His countless and continuous precious blessings in which we are immersed night and day, as He is the sole and only absolute provider of every blessing. And therefore to Him belong all praise. We beg Him to never deprive us of any of His blessings and to always increase us in all of them. And we ask Him, as we testify that there is no worthy of worship nor true God except one God, Allah. He has no partners and no equal, and we testify that Muhammad is His servant and final messenger. We ask Allah Almighty to shower abundantly His peace, praise, compassion, mercy and blessings upon our dear and beloved Prophet Muhammad, his family, companions, followers, and upon all of us gathered here in His blessed house. Ameen, Allahumma ameen. Dear brothers and sisters, kullu aamin wa antum bi khair. Literally, Ramadan is around the corner. Tonight is Friday, going on Saturday night, if we may. And inshallah, Saturday passes. Then Sunday night, inshallah, is the first night of Taraweeh, first night of Ramadan. The night begins before the day. We are basically almost one day away from Ramadan. May Allah bless the remainder and conclusion of Sha'ban for us. Say Ameen. And for the entire Ummah, as we are one Ummah. إن هذه أمتكم أمة واحدة وأنا ربكم فاعبدون. Allah says, verily, surely, this ummah, nation of yours, is one ummah, and therefore I am your Lord, therefore worship me. In the other ayah, therefore fear me and be mindful of me. فَاتَّقُونَ. Wallahi, by Allah, and I swear in His holy name, that if we acted upon this ayah alone, no Zionist or Hindutva or any evil person would be able to get away with the harm against Muslims. If we held this ayah in practice, this ayah alone, no one would dare harm the Muslims. May Allah have us understand this ayah and act upon this ayah. Say Ameen. Ramadan, Allah Azza wa Jal mentioned it in the Quran, and He said, شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان. The month of Ramadan, in which the Quran was revealed, guidance for people and clarification of guidance to guide us to distinguish the truth from falsehood. Ramadan is the 9th month in the Hijri calendar year. Like September in the Gregorian, it is the 9th month. We are concluding the 8th month, and inshallah ta'ala, in a day or so, we begin Ramadan, the 9th month. Ramadan, Allah Azza wa Jal associated with it the Quran. And therefore, clearly, Allah is giving us a very clear message. In Ramadan, embrace the Quran even more. And unfortunately, myself included, we've neglected the Quran throughout the year. إِلَّا مَنْ رَحِمَ رَبِّي, with the exception of very few pious people. But this should not excuse us from, at least in Ramadan, we embrace the Quran. So therefore, we must embrace it. How do we embrace it? Do we just hold it? Do we decorate our rooms with it? We must read it. The word Quran is a masdar. It means something that is to be read and to be continuously recited. This is what literally Quran means. So if you understand the word Quran, you are to read it. The first ayah revealed, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق. Read in the name of your Lord who has created. So we have to read the Quran. Read it in Arabic and read it in any language you understand so you can actually understand what it means. Use the many authentic resources that explain the meanings of the Quran for you, whether video or audio or whatever works for you, so you actually can understand what the Quran means. There's two types of recitation that we should understand and prepare for in Ramadan. قراءة تعبدية وقراءة تدبر. There is the act of worship of recitation, where Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam explains, لا أقول لكم ألف لام ميم حرف ولكن ألف حرف ولام حرف وميم حرف. I don't tell you that ألف لام ميم is one letter, but ألف is one letter, lam is one letter, mim is one letter, and each letter we get 10 hasanat. Each letter we get 10 hasanat, and Allah multiplies for whomever He wishes, but a bare minimum. So do you say ألف لام ميم, that's 30 minimally. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, you can do the math. So we have, this is qira'at ta'abbudiyya. I read the Quran with sincere intention. I'm trying to gain the pleasure of Allah, the guidance of the Quran, and I'm going to read it to get those hasanat and blessings. Then there's qira'at tadabburiyya, to take the time to comprehend, ponder, reflect, learn. That one you can do, maybe, you can, however works for you. You can say, I'm going to do one ayah a day of that, and that's the one you dig into the tafsir. Use your phones, mashallah, we all use our phones for hours, especially nowadays with news and things useful and sometimes things not so useful. Use that phone to download a good Quran app, and most of them are free. Download the tafsirs, many tafsirs, in whatever language you are acquainted with, and click on the ayah and read the tafsir and the meanings. And you can use one tafsir, two tafsirs, three tafsirs, whatever works for you. You can join different programs that have the tafsir of the Quran online, free, most of them. In Arabic, you can maybe, Sheikh al-Sha'rawi has the entire Quran on video on his website. Day by day, video. You can watch it. There is Bayyina, Nu'man Ali Khan has the English. There are many others. I'm just sharing with you some examples. This is called qira'at tadabburiyya. This is when you say, I'm going to spend 10 minutes or 1 hour or half an hour or one ayah or one page. You choose what works for you, but every day try to have a goal. I'm going to read 1 juz a day. For instance, I'm using this as an example. You can read more or less. And I'm going to read 1 page a day of meaning. Now in 30 days, Ramadan, inshallah, by way of calculations, is going to be 30 days this year, inshallah. May Allah have us worship Him in all 30 days. May Allah accept us. Say Ameen. So that's 30 juz and 30 pages. That's a juz and a half of meaning. Inshallah, some people get a PhD in tafsir of 1 juz. Seriously, it's a big deal. So, don't underestimate this. So this is شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن. Set a goal, Quran and Ramadan, hand in hand. Recitation for ibadah and tadabbur for meaning. 2 different tracks. Clear? هدى للناس. What's the purpose of reading the Quran? To be guided. Wallahi, if you read the Quran with this intention and put your mind into it, your heart into it, Allah will open your sight, your understanding to things that go beyond your imagination. You will read how current affairs are working and what to do and how to navigate. You will read and understand what happened similar to today, 1,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago, 3,000 years ago, and how to succeed and pass that. And what people will react to you and what to anticipate. You will read, the Quran will open your horizon. Allah said, أَبْصِرْ بِهِ وَأَسْمِعْ. Have them see through it, that is the Quran, and hear or listen through it. مَا لَهُم مِّن دُونِهِ مِن وَلِيٍّ. Nobody is going to help you other than Allah. And His word and His help is right here. So the Quran will guide us. And the Quran will give us immense blessings. And those blessings, like I said, reward form and guidance form, reading, perhaps maybe not understanding, which is perfectly fine and you get tremendous rewards for it. Don't let the shaitan, one of the tricks of the shaitan, say, you don't know what it means, you are wasting your time. No, you're not wasting your time. The Prophet ﷺ said, الذي يقرأ القرآن وهو ماهر به مع السفرة والذي يقرأ القرآن وهو يتتعتع به له أجران وهو عليه شاق له أجران. The Prophet ﷺ said, one who recites the Quran fluently is ranked with the angels, meaning Allah will give them very high ranking. And one who reads the Quran stuttering and struggling with it, and it's extremely difficult upon them to do so, Allah will give them double the reward. 2 rewards. The reward for reading like everybody else, and the second reward for the difficulty that they are experiencing, yet they are still steadfast, they don't give up. شهر رمضان الذي أنزل فيه القرآن هدى للناس وبينات من الهدى والفرقان فمن شهد منكم الشهر فليصمه. Any of you who witnesses, meaning lives through the month, immediately fast. Therefore, now we go to the fasting portion. Allah Azza wa Jal said, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, O you who have believed. Whenever you see this in the Quran, may Allah make us amongst the true believers. Say Ameen. Pay attention, Allah Almighty is addressing us. Allah is addressing you. You know, if someone of importance addresses you, وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, you pay attention, right? Such and such, mashallah, wah, right? Allah Azza wa Jal. Allah, Rabbul Arbab. Allah, He says, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu. O you who have believed. Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Fasting has been ordained and prescribed and obligatory upon you. كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِن قَبْلِكُمْ, as it has been ordained or prescribed to those before you. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ, so you may achieve taqwa, meaning mindfulness of Allah, meaning refraining from the disobedience of Allah and obtaining the pleasure of Allah. That's what it means. Number one, when people see you in Ramadan, or they ask you if you're fasting or do you like to have some lunch, and you say I'm fasting, don't feel shy, because it has been prescribed to the Jews and Christians before us. So fasting, Allah tells us in this ayah, those before us have been prescribed to fast, and to this day there is fasting in the Jewish faith, there is fasting in the Christian faith. Different types of fasting, but there is the concept of siyam, of refraining from some form of indulgence, whether it's food, drink, and some people in Lent, they forego some pleasure of theirs. So there's different forms in other faiths. Allah tells us that in the Quran, that fasting has been ordained on those before us, except that our fasting is this way. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ said, As-siyamu junnah. Fasting is a form of protection or prevention from sin. It teaches us self-control, and it helps us do less sins or commit less sins. طيب. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam said, كل عمل ابن آدم له إلا الصيام فإنه لي. هذه إضافة تشريف. All the deeds or actions of the offspring of Adam is for them, except fasting, it's for me. And this is idafat tashrif. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala honors the fast by saying it's mine. It makes the fasting more of importance and prominence. وَأَنَا أَجْزِي بِهِ, and I reward accordingly for it. وَالصِّيَامُ جُنَّةٌ, and fasting أي مانع من المعاصي. It is a form of protection or prevention from committing sin. فَإِذَا كَانَ صَوْمُ يَوْمِ أَحَدِكُمْ, if it is the day that you're fasting, فَلَا يَرْفُث, the Prophet ﷺ says, don't do rafath. What is rafath? أي الفحش من القول. Don't have vulgar language. So during our fast, a lot of us think fasting is just food and drink. It's food, refraining from eating, drinking, and sexual acts from Fajr till Maghrib. But it's not limited to that. So here Rasulullah ﷺ is telling us, don't use vulgar language. So the S word, the F word, the that word, the this word, don't use these things in any language. فَلَا يَرْفُث. What else? وَلَا يَصْخَبْ. And don't raise your voice. So even if you don't use those words, but hey, don't do that. What's the matter with, don't, no. Fasting person, if they are really fasting properly, their voice has to be under control, their mannerism has to be. So the fasting is really a hands-on workshop, training to get us to be a better person. ولا يجهل يعني لا يسفه أو يسفه. So a person should never curse anybody. Don't curse anyone during your fasting. فإن شاتمه أحد أو قاتله, if anyone curses you or tries to fight you, فليقل إني صائم إني صائم. A person should say, I'm fasting, I'm fasting. Obviously get away from that situation. والذي نفس محمد بيده لخلوف فم الصائم أطيب عند الله يوم القيامة من ريح المسك. By the one who controls or holds the soul of Muhammad in his palm or in his control, that the odor of a fasting person on the day of judgment is more beloved to Allah than the scent of musk to you. Meaning that you are doing everything. So we have to understand this part. I want to clarify a little bit. As a Muslim, we fast the way Rasulullah ﷺ fasted, right? Yes or no? Yes. Rasulullah ﷺ, who used to eat suhoor. So we should do suhoor. This is min sunan and adab al-siyam. And it is sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ to delay our suhoor closer to the fajr time as much as possible. Does that mean I can't eat early if I have a particular circumstance? No, you can't. If you have a particular circumstance, that's an exception. But the general guidance is that we try to do it towards the end of the night, closer to fajr time. So we should do the same. And iftar time, breaking fast, should be as soon as the time arrives. Don't act like I'm extra pious, I'm going to wait till no, you don't wait. This is not from the Sunnah and tradition of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he used to do miswak while he's fasting. He used to do siwak, brushing his teeth while he's fasting. And Imam Shafi'i radiyallahu anhu, he says even after Asr, no problem at all. So therefore, we should learn when we're fasting, it doesn't mean don't floss and don't use mouthwash and don't use toothbrush and don't use toothpaste and don't use miswak if you have it. I am of the opinion of the scholars that say use all of it. And use it as many times as you wish in Ramadan and outside Ramadan. The Prophet ﷺ said, لولا أن أشق على أمتي لأمرتهم بالسواك عند كل صلاة وفي رواية عند كل وضوء. The Prophet ﷺ said, if it weren't going to be difficult for my followers, I would have commanded them to brush their teeth at every prayer and at every wudu. That's 5 times. Dentists say twice a day. The Prophet ﷺ is saying, I would have made it 5. So, in Ramadan and outside of Wallahi, when you grab, this is a very beautiful book. I highly recommend, if you would like to read a fiqh book, to read this book. It's called Fiqh Sunnah. Fiqh Sunnah by Sheikh Sayyid Sabiq. May Allah give him Jannatul Firdaus. A great modern scholar who passed away not too long ago. But he simplified fiqh. It's probably the most purchased book of fiqh in the world. Very easy, but very thorough. And it is extremely important for us to understand, when you read these books, the first chapter of fiqh books, it's a big chapter, not a small one, like many pages. It'll be fiqh al-tahara, cleanliness and purification. Cleanliness, always, in any fiqh book. The first big chapter is fiqh al-tahara. You will find it says to brush your teeth and to make madmada and to do istinshaq and what kind of water to use and how to wash and what to wash, from the wudu to the istinja to the istijmar to the ghusl to the mayyit to the all kinds of washing, to the nifas to the hayd to the everything. All of the details. We have the richest heritage and guidance of hygiene and cleanliness, yet we ignore and forsake this heritage and information. It pains me when I am praying as a ma'moom, meaning in one of the rows, in Jumu'ah or any other prayer, and I've designated a khutbah about this, but subhanAllah, the ahwal of Gaza happened and I couldn't give that particular khutbah. People would probably throw something at me if I talked about cleanliness in khutbah while our brothers and sisters in Gaza are being killed and massacred. May Allah give them victory, and may Allah accept them as shuhada, and may Allah defeat every bloodthirsty aggressor in the world. Ameen. That being said, our heritage teaches us the most about cleanliness, and it pains me when I sit down next to someone and they have very bad hygiene. Jumu'ah, it is sunnah of Rasulullah ﷺ in a place that is desert. They don't have running rivers and faucets and cold and hot water and shampoo and body wash and towels to take a ghusl on Friday. Shower and bathe on Friday. In the middle of the desert. And we are in America, the land of abundance. May Allah bless. And someone comes to Jumu'ah smelling like they haven't showered in a week. Or they talk to you and you're about to die because they didn't brush their teeth. It's unacceptable. I'm being honest and frank. Ramadan is coming up. We're all going to be next to each other in Taraweeh. Not everybody's the imam sitting in the front. And after I'm done, I go back for a few rak'at. Please, brothers, sisters, let's practice our deen properly. Buy those floss. By the way, if you're not flossing, you need to floss. I know a lot of cultures don't have that, but we need to actually, it's very important. It takes away a lot of the stuff that's in our teeth. Buy those packets. You can put it in your car, put it in your pocket. You know? I never leave my house without one or two in my pocket. Yeah, I'm going to try to see if I coincidentally have one today. I will show you. Point being, it is important for us here. Keep these in your pocket and have a bag in your car. Put it in that console behind under your arm. Put a bag in there. It's like $2-3 and it'll last you a long time. It'll help you. Do that after each meal. And once you actually get used to it, you'll never be able to survive without doing that after each meal. And brush your teeth. And please take this, it's from our deen. This is it's not meant in any way to be offensive or condescending. Astaghfirullah. كَذَلِكَ كُنْتُم مِّن قَبْلُ فَمَنَّ اللَّهُ عَلَيْكُمْ. There was a time that I was perhaps the worst of you, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blessed us. So this is just for us to really prepare better for Ramadan. So brushing our teeth using mouthwash and miswak and flossing, do it. The only thing I ask is when you're doing that while you're fasting, just brush with water afterwards a little thoroughly so you actually can get as much of that out as possible. But if there's flavor left, it's okay, as long as you rinsed your mouth with water. Because the miswak, if you ever go with Umrah or Hajj with me, my treat to you is I will take you to a fresh Bedouin person's miswak sales stand, and I will get you a miswak that is freshly cut. And freshly cut miswak is very peppery. It's very peppery. It'll like burn your mouth. And it has a very strong peppery flavor. That's what the Prophet ﷺ used to use. So it has flavor. So, just to better understand this, you might find difference of opinion, but I am of the opinion that you may use all of the above. Okay? Please, inshallah, we practice this, inshallah ta'ala. طيب. Quickly, some of the do's and don'ts in fasting. We must have niyyah. Some scholars say make an intention in the beginning of Ramadan for the whole month as one single ibadah unit, and that suffices. Some say every night. Either way, there's flexibility since there's difference of opinion. Just have an intention to fast the month of Ramadan. Secondly, it is refraining from food, drink, and sexual acts during the day of Ramadan. So we refrain from that. You're going to ask, when do we stop eating? Do we put the glass or cup on our mouth and then the adhan takes place? Please don't go there. We have the app. it has exact time. وَلِتَعْلَمُوا عَدَدَ السِّنِينَ وَالْحِسَابِ. So you may learn the count or the calculations of years and the calculations that is of the lunar and solar and all of that. So therefore, حساب الفلكي, therefore, please use the app. It says 6:35, stop eating at 6:34. Very simple. Don't sit there and say, oh, but there's some video on YouTube somewhere of someone saying if you put this on your mouth and you keep drinking and eating, ya akhi, why go there? Why? Eat and drink beforehand. So, who's obligated to fast? Adults who are sane, not sick, not menstruating, not post-delivery nifas, and not traveling, as well as not nursing or pregnant. All those exceptions that I gave, it all depends. You are fast if you are sick. If that sickness is temporary, then you have the rukhsah of breaking your fast, meaning you are permitted to break your fast if you're sick. Some scholars say no matter how bad or how hard or difficult or easy the sickness is, you have that choice. And everybody's subjective. Don't sit there and act macho. When I was sick, I didn't break. Please, everybody is different. So if someone is difficult for them, that's subjective. Okay? And whatever you break your fast, you have to make it up if it's something temporary. So God forbid you got COVID and you need to break your fast, that's fine. But just count the days, you got to make them up afterwards. But say someone has a chronic sickness. The physicians, the doctors say, there's no cure for it, and you must not fast, not a single day. Then you must listen to them. They are your mufti. So you have to not fast, and what do you do in that case? Give about $10 per day that you can't fast to the poor. So this year Ramadan is 30, so it's $300. And that is poor Muslims. With regards to travel, if someone is traveling 54 miles or more in one direction, 54 miles or more in one direction, that is considered travel. If you're traveling and that travel is going to be difficult for you to fast, whether by plane, by car, by donkey, I don't really care, if you feel that it's difficult for you, then you are permitted to break your fast. But if you feel that it's an easy breezy, day, I'm getting on the plane first class and I'm getting off the plane in the next hour or two and it's not a big deal, well, then you can also not fast. Okay? The Prophet ﷺ, him and the Sahaba used to be in the battle in Ramadan. Some of them broke their fast, some of them didn't break the fast. And they said about each other, those who broke their fast didn't ridicule those who didn't, and those who didn't break their fast didn't ridicule those who did. So we need to understand there's a level of flexibility with subjectivity. طيب. Pregnant ladies or nursing ladies. If you and your healthcare professional tell you that you must not fast, then you shouldn't. Meaning, if it's going to affect your health in any adverse way, or it's going to affect your nursing in a negative way, then obviously you are permitted not to break your fast. And everybody is different. Everybody is not one stamp. Subhanallah. Some lady may be able to fast the month of Ramadan and Allah will bless her with enough milk to feed 2 kids, not 1. And another lady, if she's not drinking a gallon of water and maybe some coconut water and maybe some this and that, she barely can give her child enough. Everybody is different. So therefore the lady needs to see what is working for her and what isn't. And if it's going to affect her health or her baby's health, pregnancy health in any way or form, then you are permitted not to break your fast. But if someone is not going to affect it based on their understanding of their health as well as the advice of their healthcare professional, then they can choose to fast if they choose to, as long as it doesn't put their life or their baby's life at any harm. Any of those days that you break your fast because of pregnancy or because of nursing or because of temporary sickness, you must make up. You must make up. That's the default. When do we go with the minority opinion? There's an opinion of Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhuma that we resort to, but not as the default, as an exception, is in this particular scenario. For instance, a sister was pregnant, so Ramadan came, she couldn't fast. And then she gave birth and she was nursing, so another Ramadan came and she didn't fast. And then she was nursing for the full 2 years, so another Ramadan came and she couldn't fast, so that's 3 Ramadans. And then by that 3rd year, she got pregnant again and had a second child, and then another 3 years, and then 5 children later, she's 3 times 5 is 15 Ramadans. I'm giving you a scenario. Then she comes and says, Imam, how can I make up 15 years of Ramadan or 15 Ramadans? It's very hard. In this scenario, when this sister asks me, for instance, I will tell her, just give $10 per day that you broke your fast. And inshallah, that suffices. Now that you're not having any children or reasons to break your fast, start fasting continuously, right? But let's say a sister had 1 Ramadan, 2 Ramadans, let's say 3 Ramadans. That's 90 days. If you fasted Mondays and Thursdays, that's 100 days. In 1 year, you'd make them up. Do you understand? And you can choose the winter months and you can make it very fast, inshallah. So, do we understand? I want you to understand. I don't want you to just, blindly follow. To grow our knowledge a little bit and increase it. So because there are opinions out there, and it's important to know which opinion, when to apply it. It's not necessarily always take the easy or always take the hard. We have to understand Islam properly. The majority opinion of the Sahaba was ladies fast. Even when they give birth and they give this and they give that, they still have to make up the days. That's the majority opinion. The minority opinion of the Sahaba or some Sahaba is to give money instead. So we apply it accordingly. Inshallah, I hope we understand that. Some things that are permissible while we're fasting. It is permissible to bathe, to shower, to swim, as long as you don't drink water. It is permissible to put on eyeliner or kuhl. It is permissible to put on cologne or perfume. It is permissible to, when you're cooking or baking, if there's any flour or dust that it goes in your nose unintentionally, it's okay. If you're a carpenter and that dust goes in your throat and you swallow some of that dust, is okay. It's okay for the person, so here's no excuses. When you're cooking, to taste the food without swallowing it. So nobody says, "Oh, I'm fasting. It's all salt." No, it's not. It doesn't work that way. So Islam is very practical. You may taste, put in your mouth, see whatever it is, sugar, salt, whatever you're doing, and then you gently spit it, rinse your mouth, and you're good to go. As a matter of fact, before baby food, Gerber and all of that, the Sahaba radiallahu anhum had babies. They had to feed them, so they would chew sometimes. Some of them would chew almonds, some of them would chew dates, and then they would take it from their mouth and feed the baby. So it's important for us to understand how to apply Islam without just rigidly not knowing. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wa sallam said, قَدْ جَاءَكُمْ شَهْرٌ مُبَارَكٌ. A blessed month has arrived to you. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمْ صِيَامُهُ أو افترض عليكم صيامه. Allah commanded you to fast it. تُغْلَقُ فِيهِ أَبْوَابُ الْجَحِيمِ وَتُفْتَحُ فِيهِ أَبْوَابُ الْجَنَّةِ. The gates of hellfire are closed during this month, and the gates of paradise are wide open during this month. وَتُغَلُّ فِيهِ الشَّيَاطِينَ. And the shayateen are chained. Chained means they're still there, but they don't move, and they're in as quickly and easily as usual. So it means the influence is less. فِيهِ لَيْلَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّنْ أَلْفِ شَهْرٍ مَنْ حُرِمَ خَيْرَهَا فَقَدْ حُرِمَ. In this month there's a night that's greater than 1,000 months in rewards. That is, one who's deprived of its blessings is a truly deprived person. The Prophet ﷺ was climbing the minbar. He said, Ameen, Ameen, Ameen. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum asked, why do you say Ameen? He said, Jibreel alayhi salam approached me and made a dua, and I said Ameen. The first one was, may he be at a true loss, one who lives while one or both of his parents become elderly and he doesn't earn or she doesn't earn Jannah, obviously through serving them. And the Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen. The second, may he be at a true loss, a person whom gets Ramadan, starts and ends, and they didn't get forgiven. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen. And the last one, the Prophet ﷺ said, as Jibreel alayhi salam said, may he be at a true loss, one whom your name is mentioned and he doesn't say salutations. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. The Prophet ﷺ said, Ameen. The Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, As-siyamu wal-Qur'an yashfa'ani lil-'abdi yawm al-qiyamah. يقول الصيام أي ربي منعته الطعام والشراب والشهوات بالنهار فشفعني فيه ويقول القرآن أي ربي منعته النوم بالليل فشفعني فيه فيشفعان. The Prophet ﷺ said, fasting and Qur'an will intercede on your behalf on the Day of Judgment. Let me explain something. The Day of Judgment, وَتَضَعُ كُلُّ ذَاتِ حَمْلٍ حَمْلَهَا. Every lady who's carrying will let go of her child. Can you imagine a mother dropping her kid? Or miscarrying? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يَوْمَ يَفِرُّ الْمَرْءُ مِنْ أَخِيهِ وَأُمِّهِ وَأَبِيهِ وصاحبته وبنيه لكل امرئ منهم يومئذ شأن يغنيه. The day where a person will run away from his own brother. Not a single hasana he's willing to give up. Not a single hasana he wants to give his mother or father. Not a single hasana he wants to give to the love of his life, his wife. Not a single hasana he wants to give to his own child. Everyone has enough to deal with. That day, fasting will stand and come forth and intercede on your behalf and say, Oh my Lord, accept my intercession on his behalf or her behalf. I prevented them from eating, drinking, and sexual desires throughout the day. Please accept my intercession. The Qur'an will say, the Qur'an will come forth and say, My Lord, at that moment, I've prevented him or her from sleep and rest at night. Please accept my intercession on their behalf. And of course, thirdly, sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam will be prostrating before Allah and he will make a special dua Allah gives him and he will be continuing to say, Ummati, Ummati, and Allah Azza wa Jal will say, Ya Muhammad, irfa' ra'sak. Sal tu'ta, ishfa' tushaffa'. O Muhammad, raise your head, ask and you will be given. Intercede and your intercession will be accepted. So we really need to appreciate Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam by doing more salutations upon him and embracing his sunnah and teachings. We need to read the Qur'an and embrace it and understand that this Qur'an is what will help us when we are in the grave and we are Yawm al-Qiyamah. And we need to understand the value of fasting, because that fasting will come Yawm al-Qiyamah to intercede on our behalf. قال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم من صام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who fasts Ramadan, anticipating the rewards from Allah only, and sincerely fasting, Allah will forgive all of their sins. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم من قام رمضان إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. One who prays at night in Ramadan, sincerely anticipating rewards only from Allah, Allah will forgive all of their sins. وقال النبي صلى الله عليه وآله وصحبه وسلم من قام ليلة القدر إيمانا واحتسابا غفر له ما تقدم من ذنبه. One who prays on the night of Al-Qadr sincerely for Allah and seeking His rewards, Allah will forgive all of their sins. Laylatul Qadr, by the way, could be any of the nights of Ramadan. That's one opinion of scholars, from the beginning to the end. That's one opinion. Another opinion in the last 10 nights. Another opinion in the last odd nights in the last 10 nights. None of them are definitive. Therefore, from the first night to the last night, please, even if it's 2 rak'at, even if it's 5 minutes of sincere dua, do it. That way you catch Laylatul Qadr no matter which day it is or which night it is. And lastly but not least, i'tikaf is a sunnah of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam, meaning to spend some time in the house of Allah. I'tikaf has no limit on its time. There's no specific minimal time. It could be this time you're in the masjid with the intention of avoiding the indulgence outside the masjid in dunya, and you are in the house of Allah. This counts as i'tikaf. It could be a moment, it could be an hour, it could be 2 hours, it could be the time you're here for Taraweeh, it could be the time you want to spend an entire night or an entire day or 10 days or 10 nights. Rasulullah ﷺ, it is his tradition to spend i'tikaf the last 10 nights of Ramadan. The last year he lived, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he spent 20 nights in the masjid in i'tikaf. Do you know why? Because the year before, he walked into the masjid and he found many tents in the back. And he asked, who are these tents for? He said, for your wives. So Rasulullah ﷺ, he said, no, take them all apart. He's not doing i'tikaf this year because they were all taken over the masjid. And then the year after, he made up for the 10 days from the last year. So Rasulullah ﷺ dealt with challenges of life and marriage and all kinds of, subhanAllah, norms that we have, and we should learn from his most beautiful example. I will stop here, inshaAllah ta'ala. I would like to remind myself and everybody to clear their hearts, to start to work on their relationship with Allah, with also working on their relationship with the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And inshallah, this month is the month of generosity. For those who don't calculate, who don't give zakah or don't give their zakah except in Ramadan, it is important for us to actually give our zakah. It's not necessarily only in Ramadan. Zakah is any time of the year that your zakah is due. Let me cover zakah for 5 minutes, as this will be the first question. And then I'll open the floor for questions. Okay? Because this was one of those very eager questions that I'm receiving throughout the last couple of weeks. Zakah, whenever you hear the word zakah, it's mandatory. Okay? It's different than just optional. Zakah means mandatory. In this case, there are two zakahs, zakatul fitr and zakatul mal. Zakatul fitr, anyone who can afford it must pay per person in their household, young or old, male or female. Usually it's the responsibility of the head of the household. How much do you pay? What were we paying last year? 12 or 15? 12? So anywhere between $12 and $15 per person in your household. Okay? In this, Allah forgives the mistakes you've made in your fasting, and Allah rewards you for feeding the poor or hungry Muslim. Fair enough? That's called zakatul fitr. That's for whom? Every Muslim who could afford it. If you can't afford it, it's no longer obligatory upon you. Zakatul mal, and that's the hot topic. Zakah, the fifth pillar or the fourth pillar of, or the third pillar, one of the 5 pillars of Islam, is zakatul mal. طيب, zakah on wealth. How do we calculate that? Let's say money and jewelry. All of your gold, all of your cash, your savings, your checking, your investments, meaning, and I'll cover the stocks in just a moment. All of your cash, 2.5% of them. So put it all together, pay off your immediate debts. Credit card should be always paid off. No Muslim should be paying payments in credit card. Should be 0 interest. So you pay off 100%. So you pay that. You pay that month's house payment. Hopefully you have Islamic financed homes. You pay any immediately due debt. Someone that's, hey, give me $1,000, I give it to you as soon as I get it. You got it, you give it to them. The rest of them, you pay off the taxes, maintenance, whatever. And then the rest of the money, 2.5% of that. Is that clear? When it reaches the nisab. I was at the University of Cincinnati with the wonderful MSA students, mashallah, Muslim Student Association, there a couple of days back. And we said, the minimal amount that you should have for zakat to be zakatable wealth is 3 ounces of 24 karat gold or more. You Google on your phone, price of 24 karat gold today in the market, tells you, then you multiply that by 3 ounces. So it was around 2,000 per ounce, $6,000 for the 3 ounces approximately speaking. So if you have in today's market, if you have $6,000 or more, then you must give zakah. Do we understand? If you have less than that amount in total, then there's no zakah upon you. Are we clear on this? You will always find إذا حال عليه الحول, every year that passes, every hijri year that is. Ya akhi, you don't have a birth certificate for every dollar you have. So very simple way to calculate your zakah. If you haven't given zakah before, start this first of Ramadan. Okay? If you've given zakah, you know what day it's due. I personally do it since I was a kid, the first of Ramadan. So I know this is my date. If you want to dig deeper and understand when does your date start, it starts from the day you have the nisab, the $6,000 or the 3 ounces of gold. The day you have 3 ounces of gold in value, that's the day you mark. A year from that day, that's when it's due. Do we understand? Many Muslims don't know that and they don't have that. So if Ramadan first is your day, then make sure you mark it. It's very easy to remember. Every first of Ramadan, go calculate all of your checking, savings, cash, jewelry, total, whatever it is. If it's 3 ounces of gold or more in value, you take 2.5% and you give it primarily to the poor Muslims. That's the default where zakah goes. The default is poor Muslims. By the way, there's some Muslims that know very limited knowledge. They will read the ayah of zakah and run with it. You can't do that. You ayah of zakah and all of the different applications of zakah that the Prophet ﷺ applied and said. Then you get the full picture. The Prophet ﷺ, when he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal radiyallahu anhu to Yemen, he told him, call them to La ilaha illallah Muhammadur Rasulullah. If they accept, then tell them that Allah has ordained upon them 5 daily prayers in the night and day. If they accept, then tell them that Allah has obligated a zakah, mandatory alms, charity that is taken from their rich and distributed to their poor. What do we understand from that? Zakah, first of all, it's on Muslims only. Zakah is not on a non-Muslim. So a Muslim must pay zakah. Who? The wealthy. We said what that is in the definition of zakatable wealth. Distributed to whom? Their poor. Do we understand? That's the default. Can we spend some zakah money on the new Muslims or people? Yes, you can. It's no problem. That's one of the mu'allafati qulubuhum. But the default is from the rich to the poor. That's the default. Now I'm going to cover zakah on stocks. Zakah on stocks. There are 3 opinions. I'm giving you a little bit more information, so pay attention. 3 opinions. One opinion that says 2.5% of the total. What does that say? Simple. Your entire portfolio that you can access, 2.5% of that every year. That's one opinion. Another opinion says we're going to treat it like the zakah of harvest. So 10% of the ribh, profit. 10% of the profit. You find out whatever it is that the profit of your portfolio is, and 10% of that profit. That's one opinion. The difference between these two opinions, there's a third opinion that I'll share. The difference between these 2 opinions is the 2.5% of the total is pretty heavy on most people. If you make 5 or 6%, and on average, it's a heavy move to make. Yet it's most rewarding to you because nothing goes to waste. But I'm giving you the different opinions so you are more knowledgeable. This opinion of 10% of the profit is the lightest opinion. It's very advantageous to the wealthy and not so advantageous to the poor. Okay? And with all of our respect to all the opinions, we can't dismiss them, that the stocks is more of urud tijara and sana'a than it is harvest. Okay, stock market is usually those companies you're invested in are not really harvesting, what do you call that? Thimar. It's not agricultural. It's usually either companies that are manufacturing or companies that are, different kind of businesses. So it's not very accurate, but we respect the opinion nevertheless. The third opinion is the experts in stocks and in this field say that 2/3 of the stocks or shares that you're invested in is not zakatable wealth. Let's say, for instance, a factory. A factory, all the building is not zakatable. The tools are not zakatable. The machinery is not zakatable. Like Amazon, those trucks are not zakatable. Do you understand? So what happens is you have to subtract all of that. What is at the end zakatable, scholars have said after intense research, about 33% of that investment in the stock market. 33% is usually the zakatable wealth on average. Therefore, they say take 2.5% of the 1/3. Do we understand? Because they're saying that usually those factories and whatever companies you're invested in, usually they're 1/3 of them, 33% approximately, is what is zakatable wealth, and the rest of it is non-zakatable wealth, like a factory building and tools and machinery and trucks and so forth. Do we understand? So what they say here is 1/3 of your stocks, 2.5% of them. That's the third opinion. Do we hear all three opinions? One opinion, 2.5% on all. That's the most taxing on the wealthy, but the most advantageous for the poor. Then you have one that's most advantageous for the wealthy and least advantageous to the poor, which is 10% of your profit. And then the third one is, in practicality, 1/3 of your stocks are usually zakatable wealth, 2/3 are non-zakatable, therefore take 2.5% of the 1/3. The last part I'm going to cover before I open the floor for more questions is your retirement portfolio, 401k and its likes. I'm going to give you the rule and you basically understand how to apply. Anything that we have access to, wealth that we can withdraw, that is zakatable. Okay? Wealth that we can withdraw. So let's say you have a system that says you cannot, under any circumstances, withdraw a single penny until you reach a particular age. Then it's not zakatable until you reach that particular age. The truth of the matter is, most of 401ks and IRAs are not like that. They say you can access with heavy penalties, early withdrawal penalties, and taxation. The scholars, same experts who said the 1/3 that I just explained to you earlier, say on average 40% of the total retirement portfolio is the early withdrawal fees as well as the taxation and penalties. Therefore, you're left with about 60%. Then that 60% is in the stock market. So you apply the 1/3 of it is zakatable and you take 2.5% of that. Does that make sense? I'm going to say that again. So they say whatever you can take and withdraw is usually about 60%. If you do it early, there's a 40% overhead of early withdrawal penalties, taxations, and fees. So that's 40% gone. What you can take home is 60%. That 60%, experts have said 1/3 of them, because they're in the stock market, 1/3 of them is zakatable wealth, just like we said the general stock opinion. And therefore 2.5% of that would be what's to apply. If you don't want to take that opinion, then all 60% is 2.5% of it is what you apply. Do you remember the two opinions we talked about earlier? So I gave you all the three opinions that are out there. I've explained how to do it, and inshallah ta'ala you apply what you feel is best when you face Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? One is most advantageous one way, one is least advantageous one way, and one is somewhere in the middle. Inshallah, may Allah guide us to what is best. When there's difference of opinion, we can't completely dismiss them. They're valid, but they vary also, and it's important for us to increase our knowledge and apply accordingly. I will stop here. Let's open the floor for questions, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. حاضر بس الأسئلة الأول دي All right, we got some quick questions. What is the etiquette for i'tikaf? Can we do it this year at ICGC? Very quickly. Yes, we can do it at ICGC. We do it every year. You just have to fill out a small application and you're all set. The etiquette is that the ladies stay in the ladies section and the men stay in the men's section. Recommended, ladies stay upstairs, brothers stay downstairs. That way you can roll, you can sleep, your cover is uncovered or covered, there is no problem. Okay? What should you do? You should have some sort of sleeping bag that, will be between you and the floor. And you try to use a lot of your time in the worship. Get the ample rest that you need. Try not to make a lot of noise. Try to keep the place clean. Some of the things that you can do, a lot of people don't know this. Masajid didn't have bathrooms in them. Please understand this. The Prophet ﷺ's masjid didn't have bathrooms at his time. Okay? The Kaaba didn't have bathrooms. To this day, it doesn't have bathrooms. So when a person is in i'tikaf, they can, and they obviously will, use the restroom that leaves the masjid. Don't think because the restrooms are over there, that's in the masjid. That's not. Okay? The masjid is, the building of the masjid, but bathrooms are not part of the masjid. So you technically are leaving the masjid when you go to the restroom. A lot of people think, I can't shower in the other building, or I can't, go home to shower. No, you can. You can go to the other building for a bathroom or shower. You can go to the bathroom here. You can go home and shower if you have to, but come back. Okay? And like I said, the time you spend here is the time of i'tikaf. If you have to leave the masjid, the scholars have said, you can leave for janazah and burial and come back. You're still in i'tikaf. You can leave to go get food and eat and come back. You can go to the doctor and come back. You can go visit a sick person and come back. You can go to the bathroom and come back. You can go home and shower and come back. Fair enough? I hope I covered that. Next question. For pregnant or nursing women, may Allah bless them, can you comment on the rules of making up missed days? Are they obligated to make them up? Yes, they are, unless extreme circumstances. And I gave an example of that. And if you have any specific question, please ask me and I'll talk about your situation one-on-one. But I covered that in my lecture. Does Ozempic or Mounjaro injections break your fast? Very good question. All injections do not break your fast unless they're vitamins or nutrition or hydration. Fair enough? Some scholars say zero break your fast. I'm not of that opinion. I distinguish between nutritious versus and hydrating versus something that's a vaccine or what is that Mounjaro or Ozempic or even for the diabetics, insulin, things like that, that doesn't break your fast. Okay? But if you're taking a B12 shot, so you can have energy, if you take it during the day, it breaks your fast. Take it before Fajr, you're good to go. Okay? Inshallah. Can you please advise the community to consider inviting new friends like the new Muslims for their iftar and be more inclusive? Absolutely. This is a very important point. We should be very inclusive, all of us. Brothers and sisters, you don't know what you do sometimes unintentionally. If you are smiling and welcoming and considerate and please come here, know this, if their child is crying, maybe you can assist them instead of like, hey, you're terrible. Don't do that. Maybe they don't know there's babysitting. Help them. Say, hey, there is babysitting if you want to. Just be gentle. Be kind. Be welcoming. Invite some people to your home that are outside your circle and income bracket. It is important. Get out of your ethnic groups. Islam transcends ethnicities. It is important. The Prophet ﷺ was friends with Bilal and Abu Bakr and Umar and Suhaib radiallahu anhum wa sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So whether you're Caucasian or from Europe or from Abyssinia or from Africa or from Mecca or married to an Egyptian like the Prophet ﷺ, subhanallah, things are very fluid and very inclusive. So let's work on that. Please, I'd like our community to work on that more. Can zakatul mal put in the fundraiser for the masjid? That's a very good question. So zakatul mal should not be used to erect a masjid, meaning to build a masjid. No, zakatul mal goes to the poor people. Okay? Some scholars have said that in non-Muslim countries like America, can you fund the actions of da'wah in the masjid from your zakatul mal? Like, the salaries, like the, teachings, the school and so forth. Some scholars have said yes. My general advice is keep the general rule. Give from your sadaqah to the masjid, and your zakatul mal, give it to the poor. Give from your non-zakah money to the masjid. Allah will increase you in blessings. And your zakatul mal, if you want to give it to the masjid, our masjid here has a policy. It does not use your zakatul mal for the masjid expense. It actually takes your zakah, and on your behalf, they will go and give it to the recipients of zakah, people that are in need. Only 12.5% of your zakah money is distributed to the salaries of those who are working in the social services department to service the poor. 1/8. Up to that much is used for some salaries only in the department that serves the poor. The rest of your zakah, so 12.5% makes it what, 87.5%? So 87.5% of whatever you write in zakah here goes straight to the poor. Okay? What is the masjid's role in this? They just simply are mu'taman. They are entrusted with your zakah to go distribute it on your behalf. That's it. ICGC does not take your zakah money, use it for our salaries or for the bills. We don't do that. So if you give a donation to the masjid, general fund, they will use it in whichever way the masjid needs it, and we highly encourage you to do so. But if you want the masjid to take your zakah and you write the word zakah on it, they will not take your money. They will actually take your money and give it to the poor, and maximum overhead is going to be up to 12.5%. That goes not to all the salaries, only goes to those who are serving the poor, and those salaries will take no more than 1/8 of your zakah. If you're unsure if you've paid the required amount of zakah previous year, can you give more than 2.5% to compensate for the difference? Yes, you can. And when you're really in doubt, do your closest God mindful, estimation. Okay? وإن كان ذو عسرة فنظرة إلى ميسرة وأن تصدقوا خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون. So be generous and be, alhamdulillah, you know what estimation means. You have a good, solid, intelligent, calculated guess. If you have masturbated in past years and you did not know at the time that it is wrong or breaks your fast, do you need to make that up or just make istighfar? If you didn't know, then make istighfar. But from now on, masturbation breaks your fast. Can we donate zakat to the masjid? I've already explained that. Should cryptocurrency be treated just like stocks? No, I think cryptocurrency, in my opinion, based on the information I have, should be treated like cash, not stocks. Because there is no company that has, factories and and tools and a lot of that. Most of the time, cryptocurrency is basically just currency that is electronic or some other form, right? We're still trying to figure that out, but it's halal to invest in at your own risk. But I would treat it as cash, not as the 1/3, 2.5%. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. Can I give zakah money to build for a land that the masjid is going to be built on? No. Masajid are not for zakah. Zakah is for poor human beings. The people in Gaza, the people in Sham, the people in India, the people all over the world are starving. In Pakistan, people couldn't go to Hajj last year because they had more visa quota than the people could apply. Fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Give your money to the deserving poor Muslims. There are more orphans and Muslims that can't eat. They're dying of starvation in different parts, Gaza especially, in other places. And we're sitting here wanting to build masajid with our zakah. Please don't do that. It is not Islamic. Zakah is not for buildings. Zakah is not for masajid. Zakah is for poor Muslims primarily. Clear? And there is a huge demand. And fix your house before you fix other problems. Your kids are starving, don't go to your neighbor's kids or your next village's kids. Take care of your kids. Muslim kids are starving, take care of them. Hasbunallahu wa ni'mal wakeel. I'm not upset at the question, I'm upset that we don't have our priorities straight. We don't know where our loyalties stand. We're really like in all kinds of places. We really need to understand. How can we deal with broken relations and unwillingness of relatives to talk to each other? Do your part. Reach out. If you can't talk, send a message. It softens people. Give a gift. Ya akhi, they're natural sunan. Someone gets married, go to their wedding. Someone has a death, go to their aza and burial. Someone has a newborn, send them a gift and message. Eid. There's so many things. Ramadan. These are occasions, sunan, that will bring us together. And if all of that doesn't bring you together, maybe Allah will strike you with some disease and then someone will come visit you. So please, go and start doing it on your own before something happens. May Allah forgive us and help us mend our differences. What about stock options? I'm not sure. You can go to AMJA for that. amjaonline.org. amjonline.org. I know when people betting against stock and all that, I'm not into that. I don't know. You can look that up. I know investing in the stock is fine as long as what you're investing in is halal. Yes. So don't go to Anheuser-Busch, put your money and say that's haram. MGM Grand, it's a casino. You can't do that, right? So invest in halal producing companies, that's halal. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. How do you encourage kids 9 to 12 years old to fast at the school? Most other kids are not fasting. Talk to them slowly. Bring them to environments that encourage that are conducive to that. Can we have more educational activities for the high schoolers in the masjid in Ramadan? Inshallah, I am sharing this openly. MashaAllah, we do have educational programs for high schoolers, but inshallah, Brother Isa and Sister Saadiya will take this into consideration and add more. I see some youth counselors in the back. Inshallah, you can take that feedback to your youth leaders. Inshallah, hopefully we can have more of that, inshallah ta'ala. In Ramadan, the first 10 days are mercy, the next 10 days are forgiveness, the last 10 days are salvation from hellfire. Should we do or increase certain types of ibadat in each? I'm not sure if this is even a sound hadith. Some say weak, some say not sound at all. Allahu a'la wa a'lam. Either way, it is a fact that the entire month is mercy. The entire month is forgiveness. The entire month is salvation from hellfire. There are a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ said every night of Ramadan, Allah forgives people from hellfire. Allah pardons them. So don't designate the thirds. Try to just every night. Okay, that's the last question I received. 2 more. Oh yes, what is more priority? Zakah in the US or give zakah to the poor countries? Whoever needs it most should be given the zakah. Whoever needs the help most, they are most worthy of our zakah, without boundaries. The default is rich people of one community should help the poor people of that community. That's the default. The exception is when there's a devastation that takes place, a catastrophe that takes place in a particular land. That's when we actually go ahead and say, oh, you know what? We're going to give some more of our zakah somewhere else because there's a catastrophe there. The default is rich people here, give to poor people here. It's not limited to it. This is on a normal basis. So every country has its rich, has its poor, every region, they take care of each other. But let's say there's a catastrophe somewhere that really needs more than the locals' help. Then we should take our zakah or some of our zakah, take care of the poor here as well as distribute some of it somewhere else. Okay? So based on what you're saying, do you pay zakah on stock separately than normal cash? Because 2.5% from stock is also 2.5% from everything altogether. Yes, there's different opinions. One opinion I said earlier, let me say this one last time. One opinion says 2.5% of stock overall, just like the 2.5% of the rest of your money. So it's flat across the board. That's most taxing opinion for the wealthy, but most advantageous for the poor. Second opinion was 10% of the profit. That's most advantageous for the wealthy, least advantageous for the poor. The third opinion, and I don't think that one is accurate for stocks, just to let you know, to be honest with you. Because they are saying, let's treat it like harvest. It's not harvest. This is urud tijara and sina'ah. This is commerce, this is manufacturing, usually. So, the comparison is not accurate, with all due respect to the opinion. And the third one says, 2/3 of the stock, or the companies in the stock market, the money, or is not zakatable. 1/3 of it is zakatable, and I explained what that means. Therefore, 2.5% still the same 2.5% on the 1/3 which is zakatable. Gave you all the opinions, apply it inshallah accordingly. All right, that's jazakallah khair. And can I pay zakah even if it don't reach the nisab? Then it won't be called zakah. We have rules, we apply. You want to give sadaqah, then you give sadaqah. If you have a penny and you want to give that penny, that's your choice, no problem, but it's not called zakah. Zakah means obligatory, you have to do this, not a choice. So if you have under the nisab, then it's not zakah. And just to make it easy, one time a year, one day, and you basically calculate, and you don't have to worry about what happened from last year to this year. That day, whatever you have, that's what your zakah should be based on. If you had $1 million or you had no dollars, if you got it yesterday or you got it 11 months ago, once a year makes your life easy, and that's all you need to do. اللهم صل وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. I covered all the online questions. I'll take 2 quick questions from the audience here if we have some questions that weren't answered, inshallah ta'ala. Any questions? Any questions? Raise your hand. Yes, we have a question back there.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum assalam.
I have a question regards my dad. He is 79 years old. He had a stroke last year and kind of like changed his behavior, mental. He sleeps a lot. He get confusion with the time, with the morning and nights and all that. So what's the fasting part with him? Is he's obligated, and also with the prayers going forward?
May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him shifa.
Thank you.
With regards to fasting, it is important that his medical doctor be consulted, and whatever the doctor says, that's what we do. If he says he should fast, then he tries to fast. If the doctor says he shouldn't fast, then we give $10 per day that he can't fast. With regards to prayers, prayer is obligatory upon every living, conscious Muslim who's an adult. So encourage him. It is our job as a family to remind him, make the wudu for him if he needs help and assistance with wudu. You can give as simple as a wet towel. If water is not working, then you can do tayammum in case of water is not possible. And then help him, remind him. And whatever conscience he has, that's that time he prays, inshallah. But we try to do the 5 daily prayers with him, remind him. Even if you lead him and he does the acts a little bit, he's in and out. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will reward him, inshallah ta'ala, for that. We do that as long as a person lives and they still have a sane mind. Wallahu a'la wa a'lam. You're welcome. Any last question? Yes.
If I calculate zakat first of Ramadan.
I can't hear you.
If I calculate the zakat first of Ramadan, can I give to people during the whole Ramadan, or should I disperse right away?
Very good question. So if you calculated and gave your zakah on the first of Ramadan, can you distribute your zakah furthermore? Or even more, can you give zakah again after Ramadan or after you've paid your zakah? Listen carefully. Pay your zakah as soon as it's due. Okay? Can you delay it? Only for really serious circumstances. Like the poor person is, in that town, he's going to come back next week. You give it to them, that's fine. But don't delay it just because. Don't do that. You get rid of it as soon as possible. Say you paid your zakah. First of Ramadan, calculated your wealth, wrote your checks, sent them, and did your zakah payment. You're free of zakah now, till next Ramadan. But then, a month later, an earthquake happened, a catastrophe happened. Gaza, inshallah, opens, and we can, send donations or sponsor orphans, or, then you can do that with the intention of zakah of next year's wealth. And I ask you to note that in a notebook or in your phone or whatever way. So you say, on such and such date, I'm giving zakah with intention for next year's calculations. And then next month, something else, donation, and you give it zakah eligible, and you do that next month and next 6 months, and you do that throughout the year. First of Ramadan next year, you add all of that up, add your zakah, your wealth, do your calculations, and then subtract that from your zakah, see if you still owe or if you overpaid. Very simple. Any last questions? Any last questions? جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك. نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Brothers and sisters, Ramadan is coming up. There will be a lot of housekeeping that we need to take care of. So be patient, come early, park right, be nice to the neighbors when they're trying to get out of their parking driveway. I'm the Imam of the masjid. It takes 10 cars before they allow me to go out to come out of my driveway. I'm not complaining. I'm just telling you the other neighbors probably don't have the love that I have for my community. So please be nice, be patient, be kind, be cognizant. Don't have your kids make a lot of noise in the masjid. There's babysitting every day. Put your kids in babysitting if they can't be here quietly. Train them. Kids are trainable. Have a library voice in the masjid. You can carry your child if they're crying while you're praying. Perfectly fine. Try to be cognizant of the environment around us. The tent, mashallah, I love the tent. The tent, the Ramadan tent, may Allah bless Brother Tariq Khan and everyone who supports all the good work that's happening there and here at this masjid. Say Ameen. That tent is not open till the Taraweeh, 8 rak'ahs plus Shaf' and Watr is done. Share that with your family and friends, especially the youth. It's open every night after the dua. So 8 rak'at, 2 shaf', 1 watr. Imam will make hopefully a short dua, and then you are allowed to go and enjoy your tea and snacks and whatever you want to do socially. But please, don't go to the tent until the 11 rak'at or 8 plus shaf' and watr, otherwise it's going to be closed. So share that information so people don't go and have to be rejected, inshaAllah ta'ala. That's all. May Allah bless, may Allah accept, may Allah relieve the suffering of our brothers and sisters who are oppressed and being killed and starved to death in Gaza. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala aid them, help them, use us as means to support every single oppressed, innocent victim of genocide and a victim of aggression. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us always stand with the truth in the face of injustice. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide us and guide our loved ones. May Allah purify our hearts. May Allah accept our prayers. May Allah accept our dua. May Allah forgive our sins. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us fast Ramadan sincerely to gain His pleasure. And may Ramadan not pass until we are amongst the faizeen, the successful, and those who are pardoned from the punishment of the hellfire. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us Laylatul Qadr and all of the qiyam of all 30 nights and all the siyam of all 30 nights. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help us improve in our character, in our behavior, in our intentions, in our sincerity, in our actions, in our thoughts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make us kinder towards the believers, soft and gentle, humble towards them, having compassion and mercy in its true nature. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us dignity, strength and courage to face all the injustices and falsities around us. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our masjid, protect our community, protect our ummah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect our ummah. Unify our ummah, unify our hearts, bring compassion towards one another. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala make our ummah truly united and strong. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provide us with the best of this world and the best of the hereafter, and pardon all of us from the punishment of the hellfire. In Allah we put our full and complete trust. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ونبينا وشفيعنا وحبيبنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك.